Welcome back to this channel. It's resident internet psychic medium and spiritual advisor, Mr. Rain, and today I want to talk to you. Maybe trigger some of you. Now, I will say this, the triggering is not intentional today. However, this is a very sensitive group. So, I was in bed with my Coke Zero because that's like my ritual. That's how, because I don't drink. So at the end of a hard day, I bust out a Coke Zero. I know, zero sugar, right? I'm crazy. And I was thinking, having epiphanies. And I was thinking about how I speak to a lot of you guys, and you guys tell me that, like, Mr. Crane, it's great, everything that you're saying, I love it, it sounds great, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to put some of these things in practice, how to exercise some of the things that you're actually saying. And for everybody, it's different, right? But the common denominator is being concerned about what people will think. Being concerned about what a family member would think, a significant other would think, being concerned about your children and what your children would think of you, being concerned about, like, your workplace environment or your friends and different things like that. We talk about these things. And I was trying to figure out, like, how do I convey the idea that it truly does not matter what people think? Because I understand that for a lot of people, it sounds good in practice. Like, I think to everyone in practice, the concept makes sense, right? But that doesn't mean that that's not the same case when trying to implement it, and that the implementation of that practice isn't difficult sometimes for people. And, for me, I happen to be somebody that I don't really have a problem not caring what people think. And that's something I've just always kind of been like that ever since I was a kid. I've always been very uninterested in other people's opinions. I've always been very uninterested in other people's ideas. And if I'm going to be kind of honest as to why that's the case, I've always kind of thought people were stupid. And that's very much the ego side of me coming out to play right now. And I think because growing up, I would ask questions. And so if I wanted to do something, or if I said something and then I would bring that to an adult, I would ask them why. Tell me why that's your train of thought. And if an adult didn't have an ability to justify their answer, I automatically was like, okay, they're stupid. And then I would go home and be like, Mom, these teachers are stupid. So I never really cared. Needless to say, that now that I'm that adult, I still look at other adults the same. Tell me your justification for that thought. And if you can't tell me the justification for that thought, then you've lost my interest. And another reason too is because I've always kind of recognized that people have a lot of ideas. Like, people say it's shit, it's in every one of them, right? But what I have found throughout life is that people have a lot of ideas, a lot of opinions, yet they always fail to execute their own ideas. They always fail to honor their own opinions. And a lot of people are hypocrites. And because of that, I've just never cared about it. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, I'm impenetrable and that, like, there's never been something that was said that didn't hurt my feelings. I mean, look, people may catch me on a hormonal day and I may break out into tears. It is what it is. But I will say, if we have to go off of a percentage, I'm definitely a lot more unbothered by people than I am bothered by people. Just because I find it uninteresting. But that didn't solve my problem when it came to trying to figure out how to communicate with you guys that, like, it really, truly doesn't matter what people think. And I think I figured it out, right? And you guys will tell me, you guys always do in the comments. But essentially what I'm getting at is, there is not an opinion that somebody will ever have of you that will ever be correct. Everyone's opinion of you, doesn't matter who that person is to you, will always be incorrect. And if you can accept that, then that should open up a lot more room and a lot more space for you to just go be who you are, because there will never be a moment in time where that person is right, at least not 100%. Now, prior to that, I want to acknowledge that society teaches you to care about the judgments of others, right? Society teaches you to listen to and sometimes value the opinion of other people over your own. And this is something that starts in childhood development and the school systems. It's part of the state-controlled curriculum, right, where they start beating out independent thinking out of children so that when we grow up and we become adults, everybody is a drone, right? And it is taught to tell on each other, to tattle on each other. A lot of us have existed in systems where you would be rewarded for telling on somebody else, right? The society is designed to judge. It's designed to call people out. Society is designed to ostracize people who are not falling in line with the status quo, because the people that don't fall in line with the status quo are now threatening. They become threatening individuals. And we don't want that. That's anarchy, right? And so because of that, you reach a place in your adult life where you are thinking, I should be able to only use my own judgment, and for some reason I care about what this other person thinks. And for a lot of people, that's not pleasurable. That's not a pleasurable thing, to care about what somebody else is thinking of them, but they just can't help it. There's also a sense of like having moments, having waves. You may be in a bad bitch era. And, I will say this. I recognize that my language is highly feminine. The majority of you all are feminines. This audience is for the she's, theys, and gays, okay? However, if there is a masculine over here somewhere, how you doing, okay? We have waves, right? We have bad bitch eras. We have moments where we care less about what people are thinking. We're like, you know what, whatever. Have fun with it. But then something will happen that hits us, and then we care. Again, a lot. You can walk out of your house, think you look fly, and then misinterpret somebody's look on their face, think that they are giving you a dirty look, and now you feel ugly. You feel fat, you feel like a whale, you feel ugly in your clothes, you don't even like it anymore. With that being said, I also think that we need to acknowledge that we do need to grant space for the idea that it is easier to exist in a homogenous society. Meaning that when you are like everybody else, existence is easier, not necessarily more fulfilling. There's not necessarily more satisfaction or more fun. It's just easier because you're blending in. And when you blend in, people don't, you're not standing out, and so you're not necessarily perceived as a threat. People may not be extra critical of whatever it is that you're doing or saying because you're blending in. And we do know that it's typically the people that stand out the most that have a tendency to have more eyes on them, who have a tendency to have people be more critical of them, what they're doing, what they're saying, how they're acting, what they're wearing, things like that. And so there is a room for trying to fit in, right? It makes sense. Animals try to fit in. And if you are someone that lives in the West, particularly in the United States, maybe the UK, particularly the United States, the US is such a melting pot. There's not a lot of places in the world that exist that look like the makeup of the United States, where everyone is so different. A lot of countries are very homogenous, and everyone looks the same, and they dress the same, and they do the same thing, and society expects you to behave the same way. And actually, in fact, in some of the more extreme countries, if you step too far out of line, it can actually cost you your life. So let's grant room and space for the idea that blending in is actually a thing, right? And that trying to live a life where you're not caring about what people think is more difficult a lot of the times than trying to blend in. Let's just give space to that. But even with that, here's the crazy thing about how the human mind works. The human mind loves boxes. It loves categories. And the human mind does this thing where it starts to automatically assign things categories and slot it into a box. It can't actually help it. And it does this with people, right? And so humans, we slot people into different boxes, different categories. And there's so many of them. This person is nice. This person is mean. They look mean. They got a resting bitch face. They sound like they have authority in their voice, so therefore they go over here. And we're constantly sorting people out, right? However, the part that we also forget is that it doesn't matter how well you do, how well behaved you are, how nice you are. If someone comes across you and they decide that they just don't like you, because maybe your energies don't match, you will still get slotted into the box of people they don't like. And don't you dare be someone that they have a hard time putting in a box. You don't fit any category. Now you're a threat, right? Good God, now you're rebellious. Now you're something to watch out for because their mind can't figure out where it is supposed to put you. And you see this a lot when you look at like high school dynamics. Kids growing up, there is an in crowd. There is also a group of losers, right? You've got your jocks, you've got your geeks. I think that kind of stands the test of time. I think that kind of goes for every generation, and it just kind of is what it is. And then after school, you become an adult, and then you enter the workforce, right? And then you get slotted into boxes again. How good you are, how skilled you are, right? And then there's boxes of managers and management versus people that are not managers and management. And then, God forbid, someone feels like you're not adhering to expectations or you're not a cultural fit and they can't fit you in the box. Now your livelihood is threatened. So I say all that to say that there is utility and not sticking out too much, right? There is utility of not being the gossip of other people, of laying low so you don't even have to worry about what somebody else may think about you. But again, while indulging in my Coke Zero, and it was frozen, by the way, I like to put my Coke Zero in the freezer 4 hours, like exactly, and it turns into like a little slush. And so I like to drink my Coke Zero slush. But in the midst of that, what I realized was that in spite of all of that, still worrying about what somebody else is thinking of you is really genuinely a futile effort. Futile. And the reason for that is because you can't stop it. There is literally nothing you can do to stop that. You cannot stop someone having a momentary moment of interest in you that was held long enough for them to create a judgment. You just can't stop that. One, because judgments are formed so fast. A lot of them are like snap decisions, right? Because it sits in inherent biases that we're holding, right? But two, honey, maybe you're just interesting. But regardless of that, regardless of whether or not somebody made a judgment about you due to a bias that they were holding, or somebody made a judgment about you due to like, I don't know, deliberate and considerate effort, I guess, about who you are, they are wrong. They will still be wrong, and they will always be wrong. And the reason for that is simply because they don't know you. And why is that the case? Because you don't know yourself. And that's the part where some people are going to be like, oh, how dare you? But here's the thing. No one truly knows themselves. We know pieces of ourselves. We know facets of ourselves. But we are always changing, and we are always evolving, and we are always meeting the new version of ourselves, that new addition. I don't know whenever you're going to reach this video, but at this time, we're coming up on the end of the year. People are start to be going into their new me, their new year, new me era. Right? Where you will then be reintroducing yourself again to the people around you and then also to yourself. And so because we're constantly in a state of change and we're constantly in this state of evolution, and even for those people that are not evolving, because there are people that don't evolve, there are people who stay stuck in their ways and they're going to sit there until death and they don't care anything about what you have to say about it, right? Even those people, a lot of those people still don't really know themselves either. A lot of us is hidden within us. There's a lot of things within people that are still sitting unresolved. We don't know all parts of ourselves, and part of the journey is getting to learn all parts and aspects of ourselves. So, how is it possible that somebody can formulate a judgment on you that is accurate and correct when they don't know you, and it's impossible for them to ever know you because you don't really know yourself? Now, you are in the process of getting to know yourself, as we all are. But while we are continuously changing upgrading and additions, and there's constantly new things that we're learning about ourselves, there will never be a time where someone knows more about you than you know about you. How could they when you are still learning about you? It is for this reason that no conclusion that's ever made about you can ever be correct, because you're still getting to know yourself. So there will never be a person on the planet that will ever fully know you. Even those of you that have people in your lives where they're like, look, I know you better than anybody. No, they don't. They don't know you better than anybody. Or maybe they do know you better than anybody, but it doesn't mean that they know you completely. And because they don't know you completely, they can't make complete round judgments on you because they don't actually know you. Your mother will never fully know who you are. You are constantly evolving, but every person has a phase in their life where they start concealing bits and pieces of information, not necessarily lying to your parents. Some of you maybe did. But there's always a phase in life where you start to withhold information, right? Because you're like, they don't need to know all that. Your mother will never know who you are entirely. She will never have a complete and correct representation of who you are as an individual. To your mother, you will always be her baby. She will never have a correct representation of who you are as an individual. You as a parent will never have a correct and complete representation of who your child is. You will have a good idea of who they are, but even children will withhold. They will do the same thing to you that you did to your parents. You will never have a whole and complete understanding. That person will always be your baby, right? You will also never have a correct and complete, accurate representation of your significant other either. Because we all know that even in romantic relationships, two people are still evolving at separate rates a lot of the times. And they're still in the process of trying to get to know who they actually are. And if they are in the process of trying to learn who they are, how could you possibly know who they are? They don't even know who they are. And that is why people can share a bed with someone, be with somebody for decades, the relationship ends, and they're like, I have no idea who I spent all those years sleeping next to at night. Even if you are someone that feels like you have a defined identity, I'm someone that feels like I have a pretty defined identity. Part of spirituality is the discovery. It's the journey of self, the journey of truth, learning and discovering who you are and what you want to be, and creating, and then figuring out if you want to change who you are, and then create again, and then create a new reality with this new person and with this new reinvention and reintroduction of self, right? It's part of the spiritual journey, and because we are constantly in that state of evolution, we are never solid. And this is how relationships can sometimes break apart, because someone will look at you and go, you're not who I thought you were, or you're not who I remember you to be. Yeah, because the image that they created was exactly that. It was simply an image that they created, but it was never created off of complete and accurate representations of who you actually are. How could it be? That guy that you're dating, does he know about all those times where you are picking your boogers and then wiping them on yourself? Does he know about all the times when you're blowing up the bathroom because you had too much cheese? I mean, if he does, I guess go off. But there are things that you conceal, right? So maybe that person knows that you're lactose intolerant, but maybe they don't know how bad you are, right? Because there's still pieces of you that are being withheld. So that person will never really understand. They will be able to formulate a judgment, oh, this person can't have cheese, but they will never be able to formulate an accurate judgment because they will never truly understand just how much cheese you can actually have. And the thing is, because of life, every time we're meeting a major life milestone, every time we're hitting a birthday, every time we're going through a trauma point in life, we evolve again, we change again. And so we're constantly changing. And in a world where we are trying to keep up with self, during the midst of all of this change, how would somebody else also keep up with you when they are going through the same thing? So they're going through their own changes, trying to keep up with themselves, and then also keep up with you and all your changes. It's impossible. Another reason is that we live in a society that requires different masks and different personas, right? If you look at me now as Mystic Rain, this is a mask. This is one of my very many personas. I will venture to say that I think is maybe one of the more fun ones that I've got, but it's definitely a persona. This is not who I am when I enter the office, right? We all have masks. We all have personas. And we have a mask with our children. We have a mask with our significant others. We have a mask with our friends. We have a mask with our colleagues and our coworkers. We have a mask with strangers. And even with all of those masks and all of those personas, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of those personalities are fake. Now, some of them may be, most likely the job personality that a lot of us have, right? Come on, let's be real with that one, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that all of them are fake. A lot of our personas are different pieces and facets of self, of us. However, when people are coming across us, they're coming across one of those personas. If I think about a family member, like let's say my sister, you guys know I have a sister. She only knows one persona. She knows my sister persona. She knows my sister mask. She doesn't know those deep, darker parts of me, right, that form all the other things. Not because it's intentionally hidden, but she's not going to see the part of me that, like, my fiance sees, because that's gross. And masks, again, also serve utility purposes, right? Like, you're not going to go to work and use the mask that you use when you are brunching with your girlfriends on a Saturday afternoon. You're just not going to do that. You may also not have a job if you do that. It's because of these reasons that any judgment that will ever be formed against you, any opinion that anyone will ever hold, even if it's a positive opinion, it'll always be wrong. And at best, it'll be incomplete, right? At best, it's just incomplete. But they will never have all of the pieces of you, all of the facets of you, all the parts that make up all these personas and all of these masks that form one whole. They're not going to have that. It doesn't matter who this person is. And so therefore, their opinion of you will always just inherently be wrong. And if you can accept that it'll never actually be right, even if they got 10%, it'll never be a full 100%. Someone can be right on the money and they can hit 95%, but they will always be missing that 5% because they will never truly know who you are to your core. It doesn't work that way. Even the judgments you may have of me as Mystic Grain, all of them are wrong, right? Because I'm not Mystic Grain 24/7, okay? This bitch did not come out of the womb. No, she was created in 2016. So any judgments that you may have of me will be wrong anyway, which is part of the reason why it's easy for me to let things go, right? But it's the same thing with you. Any judgments that somebody has of you, they're judging a persona, one of the many that you have. They're judging one of the many masks that you have. They don't actually know you. The people at your job that's judging you, they don't know you at all. They know you for maybe the 8 hours, and even then it's not a full 8 hours, right? Maybe for that 1 hour Zoom call that you had, they know you for that amount of time, and they think that they know you, and they don't. They know that mask that you put on during that Zoom call, and that's assuming you had your camera on. But I get it, right? Because when we think about who we are concerned about formulating judgments, right? A lot of the times they are people that we perceive, notice I say perceive, not have, that we perceive would have some final decision-making power over aspects of our life. And so we worry about things like people in our places of employment, right? Because that's our livelihood. And sometimes we worry about family members because we feel like, for example, for whatever reason, if we don't have their approval, we can't do certain things. And that just comes from like childhood, right? Not having your parents' approval, and so therefore you couldn't go or something. And then we carry that into adulthood, and then we start acting that out in adult spaces, forgetting that we are actually autonomous and we can actually make our own decisions. The amount of men, particularly, that I have come across in dating who I thought was grown, and they said, "Oh, I need to ask my mom." And I was like, gross. Like, really? But those people, they don't know you. Those people at work, they do not know you. They can say all the things that they want to say in the world about who they are, but they do not know you. I know people that I work with, they think they know me. It's actually very entertaining to hear some of the bios that people create of me because they're like, "Oh, she's like this. Oh, she's like that." And I'm hearing all the adjectives and I'm like, that's what you came up with? Like, that could be farthest from an actual trait that I have, right? I've heard things at work where people go, oh, she's passive. Okay. Oh, she's calm or quiet. Okay. I guess I'm winning because you think that, because what you have witnessed was a mask that I created and a personality that I created that I felt like would get me the farthest in a job in order to maintain a roof over my head. And what you are repeating back to me is the mask that was created. But what I have yet to hear is what I actually am, which are actually none of those things. Because if you really knew who I was in the family unit of my family, I'm actually the one that gets called in to burn shit down. I'm that one in the family, right? So for me to be the passive one, that's funny. But this also goes the other way around too. People still get it wrong when they're trying to compliment you. So they can have a good judgment about you and they can compliment you and they can still be wrong. An example of this would be someone saying, oh, you're so smart, right? And at the end of the day, they may have gotten 90% of it, but because they don't know specifically how your intelligence works, because everyone's intelligence is different, everyone has a different kind of intelligence, they may not know your actual IQ number, right? They may not know how you actually are processing and synthesizing information in the brain, right? And so because of that, they may know you're smart, but they will never understand the intricacies and the nuances of specifically how you're smart. And so for that particular case, is their judgment wrong? Not necessarily. But is it complete? No. I can be telling you that I think that you're smart and still at the same time be completely underestimating your intelligence, be completely underestimating truly how much you're actually capable of doing. So if we can accept that everyone's opinion at all times will be wrong, or at best incomplete, then we can let go of this worry that about people thinking about us. What are they going to think? What are they going to say? Whatever they think is going to be wrong anyway. Whatever you think of somebody will always be wrong anyway. And if you're right, at best, it's incomplete. For everybody, at all times. And if you can wrap your mind around that, and the reason for that is because people will never really truly know every piece of you. It's impossible because you're still getting to know every piece of you. And there's no way that they can know every piece of you prior to you knowing every piece of you. And there's damn sure no way that they can know it when they're still trying to figure out who they are themselves. Another issue too that we have is that people will oftentimes mistake physical closeness as information, right? And that would be, an example of that would be like a mother-parent or a mother-child situation. Thinking that you really truly know your child, and you may know them, especially when they're like a teenager, better than they know themselves, but there does reach a part where you don't know them that well anymore. Not as much as you as a mother would actually like to know them, right? I have so many like personal stories of this. I remember one time, me and my mother, I must have been 16 at the time, we were in a car and I was saying something. I don't remember what I was saying, but I do remember her saying like, I know you, like that's never going to happen or something like that. And I remember at 16 being brazen, being like, but you don't know me at all, actually. And now, as an adult, I recognize that that could have been a really heartbreaking statement for her to hear, because I remember her going, why would you say that? And I said to her, when is the last time you ever asked me about myself? When is the last time you ever asked me what I liked, what I didn't like, what my values were, what was important to me? When is the last time you actually made a deliberate effort to get to know who I was? And I said to my mother, you don't know me. You think that you know me. You think I'm a certain way, but you don't actually know how I think because you never actually cared to ask me. And needless to say, that was a really quiet car ride on the way home. I've had similar conversations with my sister, although I didn't say all of that because at that point I was grown and I was like, I'm not going to hurt someone's feelings. But I've had situations where my sister said, well, I know you. And I thought to myself, you don't know me at all, actually. Not because you're a terrible person, but because we oftentimes mistake physical closeness, family bonds, with information. We assume that because we're related to you, that we know you, not recognizing that when is the last time we deliberately made an attempt to get to know that person. If we know that we ourselves are constantly changing and evolving, and that our tastes are always changing, and that we're picking up new hobbies and putting hobbies down, if we know that for ourselves, why doesn't it ever occur to us that the same thing may be happening to other people? And people do not make a deliberate effort to get to know their families. You make a more deliberate attempt to try to get to know a Tinder date. Tell me about your interest than you do about your family. And it's not because you're a bad person. It's just because we mistake physical closeness and familial bonds with information. A lot of you have people that you love dearly who you know nothing about. You know nothing about them. And this is how we lose people. And we have moments where someone will end their existence on this earth, and then we'll say, I don't know what happened. You didn't know them, not in the way you thought you did. And I say this from someone who has lost a best friend that way. I thought I knew them, but then I had to realize I didn't, because I never asked. People can be very proud of their opinions, of their judgments, because they think that they're right. Oh, I know them. They're this and they're that. They don't know you. They don't even know themselves. So anything that they can come to a conclusion with is wrong. Immediately. From the jump. They didn't even ask you. How would they know? You have an ability to keep people busy, literally, for the rest of their lives. Trying to decode your multiple personas and all your hidden 16 personalities. Okay? If you are really sitting here giving all of these people that much credit to get it right the first time, babes, what are you doing? And help yourself out by simply just understanding and accepting the fact that there's not a judgment that can be formulated by you or anyone else against you that will ever be 100% true. It'll always be wrong. And if you can just accept that it'll always be false, you can free yourself from the chains that you have wrapped yourself up in because you're afraid to move and do the things that you want to do for your life because you're concerned about what other people will actually say about it. It's wrong anyway. And at best, it's incomplete. I'm going to let you marinate on that. And I'm going to leave this video here. And as always, if you like what you see, subscribe to this channel. And if we don't meet again, I'll see you next lifetime.